Every time I get the opportunity to cram in 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 projects into one video, I can't help but do it.
You can do it!
So today, I'm gonna see just how many I can squeeze into this video, starting off with this broken holder. This is Christian themed, so for all you Christians out there, this is a perfect project for those church gatherings, and you ought to be able to batch these out fairly quick. Amen? Amen. Let's go. For this project, you're gonna wanna pick yourself up a 1x4. I've got a 1x4 furring strip here that I snagged from Lowe's for about $4. Measure over 8 inches and get your first piece cut. Cut a second piece to 12 inches. Bring that 12-inch piece over to the table saw and we're going to get 2 pieces ripped to 1 1/4 inches. The majority of 12-inch miter saws reach up to 60 degrees on your angles. So set your saw at that 60-degree mark, and what we're going to do is cut that 60-degree miter on both of our 12-inch pieces from the very bottom right-hand corner. Take both of those pieces, and from that long point of your 60, pull over to 7 inches. Put your miter saw back to 0 and cut that mark. Make that cut on both of your pieces. Now put your miter to 30 degrees, and on those 2 cutoff pieces, you're going to be making a 30-degree miter from that bottom right-hand corner. Now take your 7-inch pieces and from that square side, pull over 1 1/4 inches and 2 1/2. At those marks we just made, what we're going to be doing is a half lap joint or a bridle joint. I'll be using my crosscut sled to make this happen. We'll set our blade height to 3/8 of an inch or half the distance of our stock and let her rip. Once you get your first one cut out and fit, you want to make sure that you cut your second 7-inch piece to mirror the first one. They should turn out looking like this. Now take those smaller pieces with that 30-degree miter on it and just set them inside that notch you made, making sure that your 30-degree miter and your 60-degree miter are sitting flat on your table saw, and make a tick mark right at this notch. And we'll be cutting that same notch out of these 2 pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and get those 2 notches cut out of our smaller pieces, and I'll meet you back here. Hey there, future Daniel here. I know there's some of you who may get overwhelmed with my bravado or my special effects. Sorry, but not sorry. If you don't like the channel, swipe left. It's literally that easy. And for those of you who like the content and want to see more, smack that subscribe button and give me a like. It really helps the channel grow, and it really pisses those haters off. Yeah, I said it. I'll get everything hit with some 150 grit sandpaper and ease over all the sharp edges on these pieces. We'll add a dab of glue. We'll make sure that we have equal spacing from the left and right side. Add a dab of glue. And we'll come in from the front and the back about 1/8 inch. And we're gonna pop a Brad in his ass. And today we're going to be using a brand new color, and it is red mahogany. This ought to turn out great. I gotta say, rock stars, I absolutely love this project. I plan on bashing these out, and you can get up to 5 out of one 1x4x8. Realistically, you're looking at about 12 to 15 bucks per piece. Do a little bit of math, you're looking at around $60 out of that one 1x4x8. Project number 2. You can never go wrong with phone holders. Now, typically when I'm doing phone holders, I use exotic woods or some fiddleback Claro walnut, and I can get a good amount of money for these type of phone holders. This one basically consists of a half lap type joint. Super easy to make, but today I want to stick with using 1x4 from Lowe's. Measure out to 14 inches and get this piece cut over at the miter saw. Now this next step is optional. I'm going to take this to my bandsaw and get it resawn to 5/8 of an inch. Measure over to 8 inches and make this cut at the miter saw. Now on the bottom of your 8-inch piece, you want to pull up 1.25 inches. Oops. And scribe that mark all the way across that bottom. Just like so. Now you want to mark your center, so we'll go 1 3/4 inches. And from that 1 3/4 inch mark, we'll pull over on either side a 1/2 inch. Now, right above our 1 1/4 inch mark we made, we'll put our opposing piece right at that line we made. Make sure you got a sharp pencil and scribe that line. We'll carry these 2 marks up to that mark, and this will be coming out. And we'll take care of this with the crosscut sled. We'll get our blade raised to the right height and get these notches cut out. Take that cutoff that you have left over from that 8-inch piece, and you want to line up, making sure you're flush on the ends, and make a little mark right inside where that notch is on both sides. Now from those marks, pull up 1 inch, connect those lines to your 1 inch mark, and this will be coming out. Make sure your blade height is set to 1 inch and get this notch cut out. Now what you want to do is at the bottom of your 8-inch piece, mark center and pull up from the bottom at 5/8 of an inch and punch those intersecting lines. We'll come over to our vise, and at that punch mark, I'll drill all the way through with a 1/16 inch bit. And what that does is ensure that we don't have any blowout. I'm going to be drilling with a 1/2 inch Forster bit halfway through on this side. I'll flip it around and drill the rest of the way through from the other side. Go ahead and get your piece sanded down, ease over those edges, and slap some finish on this bad boy. Get yourself a piece of scrap and put some brad nails through on one side. That way you got a nice place that you can let these dry. Project number 3. Project number 3 is one of my best-selling projects of all time. And this project does considerably well year-round. And that is this cookbook stand. And now I'm going to show you how to build it. Let's go. First, we'll get 2 pieces of 1x4 cut to 12 inches. We'll take care of that over at the miter saw. Once you get those two cut, go ahead and cut one more 1x4 at 12.5. Now take that piece you just cut and rip it to 2 inches. And hold on to that cutoff of that piece. Now take another 1x4 that's at least 5.5 inches in length and rip that to 2 inches as well. And you want to cut that rip to 5.5 inches. Next, cut a piece of 1x6 to 12 inches. I'm going to use my pocket hole jig. And on our 2-inch piece that we cut to 5.5, we'll add 2 pocket holes on the back side of both sides. Grab those 2 1x4s and that 1x6 that you cut to 12 inches. I'm going to use my marking wheel and I'm going to get that set to 2.5 inches. And on the inside edge of my 2x4s from the top, I'm going to scribe a line right on that edge. And on my 1x6, I'll scribe both edges. Now I'll set my marking wheel to 1/4 inch, and at the back side of all my pieces I'll scribe that 1/4 inch mark right at that 2.5 inch mark I just scribed. At those intersecting marks we will punch those holes. At those punch marks I'm going to be drilling a 1/4 inch hole about 1 inch deep on all of those edges I marked. Make sure that you're holding your drill level, plumb, and square. Now at the top of that 1x6, you want to pull down 2 inches and make that cut right above those holes we just drilled. And I'm actually going to put a slight bevel on the back side here, right below our holes here. So I'll put my bevel at 45 degrees. I'm just going to go halfway up my board. So it'll look something like this. That way it gives it clearance to flip. All right, here I've got all of my pieces and I flipped them upside down. And I've got some 1/4 inch copper dowels that I'm going to be using. You can use regular wood dowels if you'd like. I just like the way that the metal lets everything move freely. We'll install our dowels into our pieces. And no need to glue those in because they won't be able to go anywhere. And we'll clamp this together. Make sure you're nice and flush everywhere. And we'll go ahead and install those pocket screws. I'm using 1.25 inch pocket screws. Before we install our bottom piece, I'm going to go ahead and lightly sand our face of this piece. Now grab that 2-inch rip that you cut to 12 5/8, and from the bottom of your piece, pull up 1/4 inch. And we'll add a double glue, but you only want to add glue to your 1x4s. You don't want to glue your 1x6. We're going to get this glued on right at those 1/4 inch marks we made. I'm going to go ahead and add some clamps to each side. And we can pop Brad in his ass. Now that cutoff that you have left over from that 12 5/8 inch piece, go ahead and get that cut to 8 inches. Now this next step is totally optional. I'm going to get this resawing at the bandsaw to 5/8 of an inch. But not before I grab my safety glasses and turn my air control on. Find your center and get that installed. And we'll add a double glue. And give it a little rub joint so it can stiffen up a bit. Yerp. And there's really no need to put a nail in that because that long grain glue joint will hold better than anything else. One of the craziest things about these cookbook stands is the price tag. Some of these stores and some of these online shops have those going for upwards of $150.
Damn.
Now, I'm not saying charge $150 for the one that I just made. I would be comfortable getting around $45-50 for the one that I'll make. Project number 4. Project number 4 falls in the same niche as project number 1. It's great for weddings, for family gatherings, church gatherings, and can be batched out to turn big profits. And that is this Mark Your Cup stand. Grab yourself a 1x4 and we're going to measure out to 22 inches and cut this over at the miter saw. Once we get that cut, we'll take it back to the table saw and get it ripped to 3 inches. Take that rip and get 2 cut to 5 5/8 and 2 cut to 4 1/8. I'll grab one of my 5 5/8 inch pieces and get the lettering that I want laser engraved on this piece. If you don't have a laser, they make all sorts of other options such as stenciling, or you can find someone locally that will rent time on their laser. Now on the top edge of that piece I just had laser engraved, I'm going to pull center of the length and the width. Punch that mark. I'm going to drill a 1/2 inch hole at 1 1/2 inches deep. We'll add a double glue. We'll line everything up nice and flush and apply a clamp. And we're going to pop a Brad in his ass. Next, measure your bottom. And I've got 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. So I'll get a piece of 1x cut to that measurement. I'm going to leave it proud by an 1/8 inch. That way it gives me a little shadow gap under my piece. And I'll pop a couple brads in it. Now I'll leave the finishing options up to you. I'll probably wind up doing a light burn on this piece and just give it some rough edges, make it more rustic than anything else, because that's what appeals to these type of pieces. Similar to your napkin holders, this piece is for those gatherings, weddings and such, and sell crazy good online. For one piece like this, I'd ask for about $8 and have no problem getting it. These take no time to build and you can batch these out in no time. Project number 5. For this project, I'm going to show you how easy it is to take some of your hardwood scraps and turn it into $25 by making this. This is 2 pieces of wood laminated together with a hole drilled right through the top for $25. By doing a little research, I found that this seller is selling at least 20 of these every single month. That, my friends, is a big ass profit. So what I've done is I've took 2 pieces of maple that are 3/8 of an inch thick and a piece of Claro walnut that is 1.5 inches thick and glued those 3 pieces together. This measures 3 inches by 3 inches and it is 2 1/4 inch tall. I'll take this to my router table and I'm going to chamfer the bottom of my piece with this 45-degree chamfer bit. Now mark the center of your piece at the top, make a punch mark. And we're going to drill out an 1.5 inch hole, 3/4 of an inch deep. hit that with a coat of that Finished for Dummies shellac-a-lacquer. And there you have it. Quite possibly the easiest 25 bucks you will ever make.